Hello, and welcome to another box opening video. And as you can see here, I have two giant boxes from dollzone ready to be opened. And these two boxes contain a re-release doll called Anson and Moment. I loved the drawings on these boxes, by the way. And I guess dollzone is going to call these Big Flower Man, but there's also a Big Flower Lady, so... And I do want to mention, if you know the names of these dolls and you see elsewhere that the doll says Ansem with an M as opposed to Anson with an N, which I say, it's because when dollzone first released these dolls in like 2011, the name was Anson with an N. But this release, I noticed that dollzone had put an M instead of an N, calling it Ansem and Moment. And by the way, I did not know I was going to get this little guy. I guess if you order over a certain amount, or if you order one of the dolls, you get him as a gift or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, this little flower man, he will be for sale on my Mercari and eBay. And of course, Mercari has a little bit lower selling fees than eBay does, 10% as opposed to 13-something%. So I would prefer if you bought him off Mercari as opposed to eBay. But you are free to buy from either platform, whichever platform makes you most comfortable. And if you are a member of Den of Angels, he is also listed on Den of Angels. And I forgot to mention, I bought these dolls in Moon White, because I didn't want white, and I was tired of buying normal as usual. So once again, Moon White from dollzone. And I have bought both the male and female versions of this doll, and towards the end of the video we will compare the male and female dolls as well as the first release Anson to see if there are any differences from the past release and the current release. And if you're wondering why I'm just now uploading this video when the dolls were re-released in 2023, it's because I had them on a 24-month layaway. Now if I could, I would probably do all my dolls on layaway, but I find it easier if a problem arises that I could contact the company directly and have them send me a broken part directly. Because having to go through a dealer is kind of a pain in the butt. There are some dealers who want you to mail the broken part to them, and then they would contact the company with pictures and their insurance companies and all that good stuff. That's just a pain in the ass. I just want to, contact the company directly and have it fixed directly and pronto. None of this middleman bullshit. I prefer to buy either directly from the companies or like Alice's Collections, which is a shame really, because having a company offer super long layaways like that is just like fucking awesome. This makes it easier to afford a BJD or like a big order of BJDs. Yeah, more companies should offer longer layaways. I did notice these dolls, the stringing is a little loose, and that could be possibly because the arms are so heavy, but it also could be because it's been sitting for 2 years. So their arms need to be tightened up a little bit. And the little flower man, he was also very loose. And the good news is I have not found any damage on any of the doll, which is wonderful. Because I was really worried because these petal arms, they're very fragile because they are very thin in some places. And I do want to mention that this video is a little bit on the longer side because I opened two dolls. I also compare the male and the female doll together, as well as the old female from the first release and the new female together. And that is at the end of the video. And I would appreciate it if you watch the video all the way to the end. You don't actually have to watch it, just let it play, and then maybe interact with the video. Like, subscribe, comment. And I'm sorry about the bad footage right here. I don't know what the hell my camera was doing. It's completely blown out. I will cut that out, but all I did was I opened the outer box and the inner box, and I took everything out to open the parts individually. Anyway, this is the male version of the Big Flower Man. And by the way, if you don't ever like to hear me talking through my videos, just feel free to mute the video and then listen to whatever music you want to listen to. Because I know I get that way sometimes. I want to watch the video, but I don't want to listen to the people talk, so just hit the mute button. So let's speed up the opening process so we can get to the juicy bits. Now I know this head is supposed to be a flower, but when I flip it over, the back of the flower head looks like a starfish, and I just can't unsee it. So at this point, we are about halfway through the video because we are on to the second doll, the male version of the big flower man. He is also in Moon White, and I can already tell he is slightly different from the female. Well, other than his head petals, they're all shaped different, but his arm petals are shaped different too, and we can compare those later, so stay tuned. Now he is also kind of loose. His legs are tight, but his arms are loose, just like the female version. And again, I think it's because his arms are quite heavy, and the string is old. It's like 2 years old, so. When making the voiceover to this video, I realized that I might wire these arms, but then again I might not, or just do it anyway. But I think putting these arms in any position other than their resting position might look a little weird. We'll just have to see. Okay, I've checked the dolls over for damage and all that. They were all damage free. Hallelujah. And now we are comparing all the dolls. Both the male and female new ones and the old female one that I've had from 2017 or something like that. That was made in when was it made? 2011, I think it was. Now when I'm comparing these two heads, they are very awkward to hold if you haven't noticed. I'm not sure where to grab them from so you can see both of them in their entirety. And at first I thought both head backs were the same, but looking at them, they are actually different. And now that we've saw both heads and noticed how they are different, we are going to move on to the arms. Now the hand pieces don't look too different. It's just the male one has a deeper V cut on the bottom than the female does. Same thing with this middle-ish flower piece. The male just has a deeper V cut in the bottom of the petal than the female does. Other than that, not really different. Now the biggest petal here is where the biggest difference is. The male's petal is a lot deeper and curved, as well as having that deeper V groove. The female's arm petal is a lot shallower and has a smaller groove and is not as curly at the end. And then the upper arm petals, the male's is longer and it flares out more, with also a deeper V groove. And what I am impressed about is usually doll companies, when they make a male and female version of the same, theme, they reuse the same parts. Like they'll use the same legs and the same arms, etc. on the male and the female body. They just have one torso as a male and then a torso as a female. But on this doll, the head petals are actually different, and then the arm petals are actually different between the male and female. And if you haven't noticed, I popped out the older version of this doll, which was made in 2011, but I bought it off Den of Angels in 2017, I think it is. So this doll is quite old. At the time it was made, it was a white doll. However, it is quite old, so it has 100% yellowed. Now, as you can see, the fronts of the heads practically look identical, which I kind of expected, really. I'm just gonna pop the ears on, and again, I'm not sure where to grab this head. I'm afraid to break the petals off. And here I'm just trying to test the thickness of the resin, which is one reason I wanted to compare these two from the old and the new, because the old version had a problem with thin spots, especially in the petal arms, but not necessarily in the head, other than the edges of the eyes, as some dolls do. Okay, let's take a look inside the head caps to see if we notice any differences. And oh shit, the ear fell off. Trying to break shit already. I did notice on the inside of this head, I'm not sure if you can see it really well in the video, but there is a small engraved G on the inside, otherwise it's smooth. Maybe that means girl, as in this is the girl head. And if you notice where my thumb is here, that is another one of the shallow spots that's in the corner of the eye, is where the resin is really thin. And now the newer head has their updated numerical classification system, or wherever the fuck it is. Like the body is called B709 or something. And this head says D4-10. And I also noticed the eye wells are not as abrupt or angular or, I don't know, deep. The transition from the inside to the outside of the eye well is not as sharp. It is a lot smoother and eases down into the dip instead of just like falling off a cliff. And then the corner of the eye, I can't really tell if it's shallow, but I think it's a little thicker than the original version. Now, if you notice, the new doll has a different body than the old doll. That is because the old body on the old doll has been discontinued and is no longer available. So it looks like they modified some of the parts to fit their new doll bodies. Now, the old doll bodies, including the male body, they had very wide hips. And the shape of these hips reminds me of Tutankhamun, how he was funny shaped and he had very wide hips. That is what this old doll body reminds me of. Now, when I'm looking at these petals and comparing the two, I don't really notice any of the differences in the lower petals. And even though this doll was wrapped up, it is still very dusty. Now this big petal is what I really want to compare because it has a lot of thin resin spots. So you can't hardly see it on video, but you can totally see my finger through the resin. It's so thin. And I was hoping they would fix this on the new version. But if you look closely, you can also see my finger through the new version. So I guess they didn't fix that after all. So for the most part, the arm petals are the exact same, but the biggest difference is this top petal piece that attaches to the torso. And since this is a different doll body, they naturally had to modify the upper arm piece to match the body it's supposed to go with. So it's different. And here are our detail shots of the male and female doll. And if you stuck with me this far, then you're awesome. Plus 10 cool points. No, plus 1,000 cool points. And seeing all the dolls side by side and the old and new, I kind of don't want to get rid of the old one. But in the end, I probably will sell one of them because I have a lot of dolls coming and the tariffs are a thing. So I'm going to have to pay twice as much for the dolls I have coming in. Anyway, till next time.